Hey guys, Charles here. I am your coordinator for Mission Control. That's our theme for this term, where we explore the theme verse, Philippians 4 verse 9, which is, keep doing the things you have learned, received, heard, and seen in me, and the God of peace will be with you. We've been following Hank in space as he's traveling to the journey of the unknown. He is a long way off right now, so I'm going to hand you over to Doc, who will talk a little bit about what we're trying to do with him this week. Doc?
Why, thank you, Charles. Yes, that's right. My name is Doctor. I know it all. Now, this week, Hank has been in space and has been a long way. And so a little way of us helping him get through this long journey has been to help him with things that are happening here on Earth. So this week, it's Multi-Language Week. So we've been talking to him about the connections that he has with New Zealand. So we talked about a documentary about a true story of a young girl who made a huge difference. So Hank really loved that story. So yes, that's what we've been working on this week. And I'm going to hand you back to Charles.
Thanks, Doc. Right, so let's head over to Hank. Hank, can you hear me there?
Hi Charles. I'm pretty good, mate.
Yep. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about what you've been up to this week, mate?
The week sort of started a little bit quite boring. It was sort of after flying past Jupiter, it kind of like didn't really see much in space. It was beautiful to see there, but after it just got a little bit boring. So I missed home a bit, if I'm perfectly honest. A little bit homesick. So the doc and I talked a bit about it, and he connected me up with a couple of documentaries, and a true story about a little girl who made a huge difference. It was a really good story that made me think quite a lot about the impact we have and how we can make a big difference to a lot of people. Yes, it was actually a really good one. I reckon you need to show that. Actually, I think it'll be a perfect one to watch for these guys down there. That'll be great. Yeah, you.
Awesome, that's great. So, okay, well, we'll do that. We'll start off with the documentary now. Let's roll that documentary, guys. Kia ora, guys. Donald from St. Paul's Kids here. Now, the story we've got for you guys this week is one that goes to the heart of how one person's example of doing the things that they've seen, done, heard, and seen in Jesus will have peace. How that example from one person spread Jesus' message over a whole people. But I'm ahead of myself. See, the story starts in 1835, which is a long time ago. And what happened? We didn't have roads in New Zealand. We didn't even have airports. The idea of a motorway was not even thought of. A motorway back then was when a path was big enough for a horse to get through. So coming from Auckland Central to Bombay would take you like a week. We're talking pioneering days. Now, this one couple, the Browns, they went into the Waikato to set up a school to help the native Māori children learn to read and to show Jesus' love to them. And this one little girl, Tarore, she excelled. She absorbed all the knowledge. She learned how to read in English and write in English, but also how to read and write in Māori. Now, as a reward for this diligence, the wife, Elizabeth, who was the teacher, gave her a book of Luke in Māori. Wow, Tarore, this was a treasure. This is a taonga, a treasure. And so she plaited and wove a kite, a little basket, and she put the book of Luke in this basket, held it on her heart. Wherever she would go, she would take it. At night, she would tuck it under her pillow and sleep with it. And then, when she would go back to her people, her tribe, into a little village, she'd sit there around the campfire in the evening and reading aloud to all the mighty warriors of the tribe, of their people,
the story of Jesus. Love your enemies, she would say. Do good to those who did bad to you. Bless those who curse you. And pray for those who mistreat you. This was not normal for there. They had a culture of utu, or revenge. But this message of love sat with her father. And her father embraced it. He was the chief of the village. And he became a committed person to Jesus. Every night they would sit around the fire and listen to Tarore read from the scriptures. Now, in the time, it was a very dangerous time. There was a lot of warring amongst the different tribes and the peoples. And so they had to move the missionary school from the Waikato by Matamata to Tauranga. And it was a bit of a journey. And then the chief took the 21 children, and along with one of the missionary assistants, a friend of the couple, and they took them. And that night they camped by the base of a waterfall in the Kaiamai Ranges, surrounded by dense bush, thinking themselves were safe. But little did they know that another tribe, a warring tribe with them, had seen the smoke from the cooking rising up, and so they snuck carefully towards the camp. As they were almost surrounded, a dog barked out, waking everyone. So they thought, hearing the danger alert from the dog, they quickly grabbed everyone, ran into the bush as fast as they could, in time for the warriors from the other tribe to come out and try and attack them. But most of them had escaped, except one girl. She didn't hear the alarm. She didn't hear people sleeping beside her get up and sprint for the deep dark bush. Even her own dad, who scooped up his youngest son who was beside him, ran, not realizing that Tarore was fast asleep. When the warriors came in, they were furious that so many had got away, but there was Tarore. And I'd love to tell you that she awoke and they took her and they released her, but they didn't. One of the warriors killed her as she slept. And thinking that this thing in her kite, her basket, was a treasure, he took it for himself, thinking he'd have to trade it and get some muskets or some money for it. And off they went with their loot back to their tribe. When he got there, back to his village, he saw these strange words that he couldn't read, so he didn't know what it was. So he sort of threw it to the corner of his house. When Tarore's dad saw the other warriors leave, they waited in silence, waiting for them to find it was safe. They came up, and there in front of him, he saw was his daughter dead. Tears flowed from his eyes. So the warriors that were with him were like, "Come, we've got to chase him. We've got to get revenge." He held them back. No. They got the children, and they managed to get them to Tauranga safe. They came back and they told the villager what had happened, and all the warriors were ready to gear up into their fighting gear and go attack this other village, these other people that had taken away from them their Tarore. And her dad said, "It's not what Tarore would have wanted. It's not what God's told us to do, guys. We have to forgive even if it hurts. We have to do things different. We have to do things how Jesus says to do them." Now you might think that would be the end of it. But what happened is, back at the village, the warrior who had killed Tarore, he had someone come visit them one time, and that person could read. And he said, "What is this?" And he took it and he said, "Oh, this is a Bible. It's the words of the British God." And he said, "Well, what does it say?" And they read it. And they kept reading it. And he got to that verse where it said, forgive those who have wronged you. Love all. Forgive those so that God forgives you. It struck him again. Something was happening. He couldn't understand it. And he realized it was God speaking to him. And he knew what he had to do. He got up. He told his warriors, his friends and his family what he was going to go do. And he set off to Tarore's village, knowing it was the most dangerous thing he had ever done. So he walked up, took about a week and a half to get there. Now, the sight of another warrior stepping into your village or even into the clearing before the village would normally erupt with a hail of all the warriors coming out ready to do battle. Instead, he stood there, his tire, his spear, he placed it on the ground. Tarore's dad looked at him. He recognized him from a raid. He stood there, entrance to his village, looking at him. Tears started streaming from the warrior's face. I'm sorry. I was the one who killed one of your daughters. I was the one who took her Bible from her. And I've read it. And I now know that God is the true God and that he loves me. But I know I've wronged you. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Tarore's dad walked up to him, seeing the Bible, knowing that in that little kete, the basket, was Tarore's Bible. He walked up to the warrior, closer and closer to him, looking him in the eye, grabbed his hands around the Bible and pushed it back to him. He said to the warrior, Tarore would want you to have it, and I forgive you. And they embraced and they cried and they wept. And Tarore's dad told him about the beauty of his daughter, how she loved all people, how she was the reason why they got to know Jesus. And that little Bible, written in Māori about the book of Luke, didn't just stay there. They took it all over the North Island. They took it down to Opotiki. They took it over to Otaki. And God's message spread. And they heard the story of the little girl who told about Jesus, about the real Jesus, about forgiveness. Now, some years later, a missionary, Bishop Selwyn, came sailing in, and he expected to have hesitancy amongst the people. He came to New Zealand to tell them all about God. But instead what he found wasn't just a people ignorant about God, or people who were open to hearing about him, but people who knew God, who knew about Jesus, and had already committed their life to loving him. And the bishop was like, what is going on? And he heard the story about Tarore, a little girl who had spread God's message and brought peace to many people across Aotearoa, New Zealand. The difference one person can make goes far and wide. And that's our story this week, guys. I'll see you later.
Wow. Hank got that so right. That is an amazing story. And to think that it happened right here in New Zealand, that is awesome. I love hearing stories like that that are about real life. Hey, well, I'm going to pray with you guys right now, and then we'll see you later. So, Jesus, I just thank you now. I thank you that you started off a seed in a little girl's life, and it impacted thousands of people. And because of their example, people today have a legacy, a span of your relationship, from grandparents to parents to little kids. And I pray that right now, of every one of the kids here that are listening, that their legacy would start in you, that their hearts would grow in determination and love for you, Jesus. Watch over them and keep them safe. Amen. All right, guys, this is Charles from Mission Control signing off this week. See you next week.